From news and views, issues and opportunities, we'll have in-depth conversations with decision makers to find out what they know and what they think. I'm Rico Hizon, inviting you to join the exchange because your business is our business. It is a staple on the Filipino plate next to rice. Pork in all shapes, tastes, and sizes. But supply is short and prices are high because of a viral swine disease that has substantially reduced hog stocks for over a year now, followed by a pandemic that has brought the economy to its knees.
Ngayon lang nangyari talaga to eh. Dapat ay adobo. Kaso wala ngang mabili.
What are the plans to address supply gaps while rebuilding the local industry in the 10th largest pork consumer in the world? Millions more Filipino families cannot afford decent meals, ending hunger in a sizable portion of our population in the most food-insecure country in Southeast Asia. And this company is reinventing the dining experience to adapt to the changing and challenging times. The vision of great food and great service at the bistro in our C-Suite vision. While we're battling COVID-19, the pork industry has long been fighting the African swine flu. This deadly disease on pigs has cost the industry billions of pesos, caused supply shortages, and raised retail prices. Let's now have an exchange with Agriculture Secretary William Dar, joining us from Rojas Town in Zamboanga del Norte. Secretary Dar, maraming salamat po for joining us. Paano po tinutulungan ng gobyerno ang mga local hog raisers at the same time po may sapat na supply ng pork para sa ating mga kababayan?
Okay po, number one, we have a repopulation program for backyard hog raisers and the commercial hog raisers. So doon sa backyard hog raisers, we have 600 million to buy piglets and other inputs. On top of that, we have 500 million pesos as loan program for backyard hog raisers, zero interest, payable in 5 years. Now, for the commercial hog raisers, mayroon pong 27 billion pesos na loan program.
Right.
Coming from Land Bank of the Philippines, 3% po ang concessional interest, and with the Development Bank of the Philippines.
Opo.
So this is such a massive repopulation strategy. But we have to ensure that the biosecurity measures that would be followed in this repop program will be to consider the highest biosecurity measures.
Pero po,
Yun
kahit
po.
nyo gustong tulungan ang mga hog raisers with this repopulation program, gusto rin po ng gobyerno na mag-import po ng pork. Tapos
Oh, yes.
tatanggalin
Kasi
po yung taripa. Kawawa naman po ang ating mga hog raisers na nagre-repopulate. Baka po papatayin nyo yung industriya kung mag-i-import po kayo.
Rico, we have to situate everything, okay? We have a potential deficit of 350,000 metric tons of pork this year. Yun ang deficiency because of the ASF and the slowing down of the commercial hog raisers, including that of the backyard hog raisers.
Bakit nyo
So
po
ito-
kailangan tanggalin yung taripa? Hindi ba po?
Hindi po tinatanggal yung taripa. I'm sorry, you got the wrong information. Ang taripa po ay naaprubahan ng cabinet level Committee on the Tariff and Trade-Related Matters na ang taripa po na irerekomenda po kay President Rodrigo Roa Duterte for the next 90 days, or the first 90 days, I mean, ay ang taripa po ay 5% in quota and 15% outside the MAB quota.
All right.
Now, after 90 days, Rico, it will go higher. From 5% yung in quota, magiging 10%. at yung MAB-out quota ay magiging 20%. So ganun ang rekomendasyon po ng
Okay.
Cabinet Level Committee on Tariff and Related Matters.
Okay, so Secretary, apart from these recommendations no sa taripa at saka sa pag-import ng mga baboy, si Chester Tan po, presidente ng National Federation of Hog Producers, meron po siyang ibang issue tungkol sa subsidies.
Alam mo, ilang weeks na po nila sinabi ang subsidy. Honestly, kakamiting ko lang sa Visayas Mindanao group na stakeholder, wala pang nakakuha ng subsidy. Lahat on process. Kawawa yung mga nagpadala kung hindi matutuloy yung subsidy.
So Secretary, malaki ang budget ang nakuha ng Department of Agriculture no sa Bayanihan 2, bilyon-bilyon. Bakit hindi pa po nakukuha ng ating mga local hog producers ang kanilang tulong?
Ang sinasabi na transportation subsidy ay pag natapos na yung transaction at naisubmite na yung mga documents po, Rico, that's the time the regional field offices will pay. So, that's wrong again na context na hindi pa nababayaran. Magsumite muna yung mga concern doon sa regional field office at babayaran agad.
Pero po, yung mga local hog raisers na apektuhan na po because of this African Swine Flu at saka yung pandemya. Bakit po kailangan pa marami pa mga papeles? Bakit hindi na lang ibigay sa kanila yung pera na kinakailangan nila?
Yung Rico, you have to again see in context. Itong price cap natin for 2 months sa Metro Manila, yun ang pinupunuan natin, minomobilize po natin yung supplies na galing probinsya na surplus. Yung ibibigay, wala namang kaming, yun nga, repap program, doon yung 600 million ibibigay po namin yon.
Kasi po, kailangan na ngayon nila ng tulong, no? Because they're being affected. Pero
I know, Rico, please understand na yung mga heavily affected earlier ay nabibigyan sila ng other livelihood opportunities. Mayroon na kaming investment last year, 400 million pesos doon sa badly affected provinces ng ASF.
Secretary, ngayon po may apela rin ng mga pork and chicken vendors sa Kamuning Market. Pakinggan po natin sila.
Pinakikiusap po namin na kami pong mga manininda dito sa Kamuning Market, tigilan na po natin ang price control. Kasi po kami pong mga manininda ay hirap na po. Hindi lang po ninyo alam kung paano kami nangungutang ng aming mga puhunan.
Mr. President, kailan po ba nyo i-stop ang price selling? Kasi hirap na po kami. Masyadong mataas po ang aming puhunan sa manok at baboy. Kami nakikiusap po sa inyo.
Ayan, Secretary, nahihirapan na po si Noemi at Bayet sa Kamuning Market. Malungkot po sila na meron pang price ceiling. Kailan po ito tatanggalin?
Rico, ganito.
Opo.
Kami ay may pautang sa mga Market Vendors Association kada wet market. 5 million yan para sa puhunan nila. So may nagmamanyubra sa ibang grupo dyan. Mayroon tayong sapat na supply. Magipag-ugnayan lang sila sa amin para i-direct namin yung kung saan namin na-mobilize sa mga hogs or pork. Iko-connecta namin sila at papautang pa kami ng 5 million pesos.
Pero Secretary, bakit pa sila ang kailangan pumunta sa inyo? Bakit hindi na lang kayo pumunta sa kanila? Kasi nahihirapan na po sila, Secretary Dar.
Rico, we have also teams moving around. So they have just to connect with us. Yes, we are ready to help them. We are. We have a bantay presyo team moving around.
So ang tanong po natin, kailan po maaalis itong price ceiling? Will it be this month, next month, before the period ends?
2 buwan po yun ang nandun sa EO 124 until we are able to have enough supplies. Yun po ay nandyan, yung price ceiling yan, yung price cap na yan.
Maraming salamat po for joining us on the Exchange. Agriculture Secretary William Dar joining us from Zamboanga del Norte. And now here's a rundown of the week's top business stories. The economic team must work on safely reopening the economy further under general community quarantine, with President Duterte rejecting a nationwide modified general community quarantine this March. The Bangko Sentral names e-payments industry expert Mamerto Tagonan as the new sector's deputy governor. And Dito Telecommunity signs interconnection deals with PLDT and Globe ahead of its March rollout. And we'll take the short break, and when we come back on The Exchange, where your business is our business, an appeal from employers to the government to help them bring their employees safely to work during this pandemic. And the sights and sounds of Mars revealed. Keep it right here on CNN Philippines. News you can trust.
Kalahati na lang. Kalahating kilo. Tapos may gulay. Para kumagkasya.
Medyo binawasan na lang namin yung kilo nung niluluto naming karne.
Wala, mahirap mag-budget talaga. Wag mo na lang isipin para hindi ka ma-stress.
Magic. Magic. Sinasama ng magic. Hindi kasi mahal eh.
I'm so happy you're staying with us right here on The Exchange. I'm Rico Hizon. The Employers Confederation of the Philippines wants more public transport back on the roads so more people can go to work. ECOP says this will help revive the economy. A 2020 United Nations report reveals even before the pandemic started, millions of Filipinos went days without eating due to the lack of money and other resources. So how can we make sure that every family has food on the table? Let's now have an exchange with former Presidential Advisor for Food Security, Senator Kiko Pangilinan. Senator Kiko, thanks for joining us. Ano po ang medium and long-term solutions for food security in the country at hindi yung short-term band-aid fix na nakikita ngayon natin sa ating administrasyon?
Well, pretty much, you want to secure your food, you secure your farmers and your fisherfolk. Provide them the necessary support. Management 101 tells us the number one resource in any organization are its people, the human resource. And when you have farmers and fisherfolk who are struggling with poverty and hunger, how do you expect them to be able to have optimal production? So secure your food by securing your farmers and fisherfolk, providing them the necessary support, and benchmark whatever interventions to higher incomes for our farmers and our fisherfolk.
Senator Kiko, it sounds so simple, but it seems like it's easier said than done by this government.
Well, ultimately, it's not just this government, but society as a whole. My daughter, when she was 9 years old, she's 20 now, Frankie, told us, she was probably listening to me in one interview, and she said we should treat our farmers like our parents because they're the ones who feed us. And what sets us apart from the other ASEAN countries is that they value their farmers and fisherfolk and provide them the necessary support, and we do not. So it starts with a paradigm shift. It has to be a function of leadership to put front and center agriculture and fisheries in the national agenda. And that's a challenge. Just to give you a sense, Thailand in 2017-2018 exported 30 billion worth of agricultural products. Indonesia, 32 billion. Malaysia, 22 billion worth. Vietnam, 18 billion worth of agricultural exports. Ang Pilipinas, 5 billion. That gives you a sense precisely of the challenges that our agriculture sector is facing.
I like what Frankie said, no? Treat our agricultural farmers like our parents, our brothers and sisters, no? Senator, let's listen now to this report by Melissa Lopez on what goes into the final price of pork as the produce travels from the pig pen to your pantry.
The Department of Agriculture capped retail prices at 270 pesos per kilo of pork ham and 300 pesos for pork belly. But hog traders say 330 to 360 pesos is a fairer price.
It's either they lift the price ceiling or they adjust the price
It all starts with the hog raisers, who sell live pigs at 210 to 220 pesos per kilo. This covers the investment on piglets, feeds, piggery lot, and maintenance. To reach Metro Manila, viajeros pick up the hogs and load them to trucks. Pigs from Visayas or Mindanao incur freight costs, packing 30 to 35 pesos a kilo. Traders buy the hogs and send them to a slaughterhouse. This will add about 50 pesos per kilo for truck transfers and an 80% recovery rate. The wholesale or sabit ulo price is now at 270 pesos. Market vendors get the meat and chop it up for sale. They add 50 to 80 pesos per kilo to cover rent, utilities, and worker wages.
Ang nangyayari, nilalagay na lang namin is 30 pesos. Kumbaga luging-lugi na talaga kami.
The DA thinks the spike in retail costs is driven by greed, but those on the ground say it's just the law of supply and demand at work. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
So, Senator Kiko, anong pagkukulang ng ating gobyerno na hindi nila solusyonan ang problemang ito?
Well, unang-una, tinamaan talaga tayo ng ASF. The worst hit. Over 4 million pigs have been culled precisely to prevent the further spread of the disease. And sabi nga nila, ASF, the swine flu is the version of COVID for people, but this time for pigs. So talagang supply has been constricted because of this. Even the hog raisers admit that that imports is necessary to fill in the gap at the moment. But how do we battle swine flu? How do we provide incentives and support and cash assistance for our hog raisers? This is the challenge to the Department of Agriculture.
So Senator,
almost over 60 billion pesos ang losses. So we have to have intervention to address that.
So, Senator, is importation and lowering tariffs the solution to be able to fill this supply void?
Well, importation, yes. Lowering the tariffs, I don't know. I'm not so sure about that because based on the computations of the private sector, malaki na rin ang kikitain kahit na may tarifa. And obviously, there is going to be a demand because of the shortfall of supply. And so we have to strike a healthy balance between bringing in tariff-free or pretty much almost zero tariff imports, and of course the private sector locally, the hog raisers locally. We have to strike a healthy balance, and it has to be temporary. Strategically, we have to support the industry. Over 60% of our hog farmers are backyard farmers. These are the 50 heads, 60 heads, 70 heads. Yan ang dapat tuunan ng pansin. Bigyan ng cash assistance, suportahan sa insurance, sa halip na magpautang. Sabi nga nung swine flu budget ng DA, 500 million for assistance and 27.5 billion for loans. Sabi ng private sector, paano kami uutang? Gagamitin namin yung aming mga collateral, yung aming lupa. Kung tamaan kami ng ASF, di naubos kami lahat. So we have to strike a balance between the local industries struggling and of course importation from outside. Kailangan balansehin natin ang gusto. But critical ang suporta sa ating mga hog raisers.
Thank you so much for this food security exchange, Senator Kiko Pangilinan. And straight ahead on the exchange, where your business is our business, how this restaurant group is reinventing the dining experience in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And how does Mars look and sound like up close? We'll find out after this quick break on CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust. I'm so excited you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Have you ever wondered how Mars sounds and looks up close? Well, NASA recently released the first ever video of the Perseverance rover landing on the planet, and with some audio as well.
About 20 meters.
NASA said the rover landed on Mars flawlessly last week. This restaurant group is reinventing the dining experience, committed to delivering great food and service despite the ongoing pandemic. Let's now have an exchange with Bill Stelton, Chairman and CEO of the Bistro Group, which is behind TGI Fridays, Italianis, Fish & Co., and Denny's, among others. Bill, thank you so much for joining us. Your group has over 100 casual dining restaurants. With a price ceiling on pork and chicken, have you been affected by the supply and the demand?
Well, we have been affected by the increase in the prices of pork and chicken. But there are two things we have done. Often, every year, we issue a blanket PO for 6 months of our total supply. So we have not been affected by the pricing of pork ribs, for instance, because we import them. And we have a price guarantee every 6 months, okay, or for at least 6 months. The local needs that we have for liempo and our chicken that we use, yes, we have been significantly affected.
So, Bill, have you basically tweaked or changed the prices on your menus to reflect the price ceiling and the rise of pork and chicken prices?
No, we have not. What we have done is redirected the consumer interest by putting beautiful pictures of fish and meat and other things, so that they would order this instead of pork and chicken.
So why haven't you raised the prices of pork and chicken in your menus?
Well, as it is right now, we're not cheap, and we're still trying to increase our guest counts. We're still 50% off from pre-COVID days. We started at 15% only of our pre-COVID guest counts. Now we're about 50%. So we're very cautious about pricing and making sure that the customers are happy with what we serve and what we do in the restaurants.
So tell us, Bill, why is pork a staple on the Filipino plate next to rice?
Well, I guess it's because of our culture. We grew up with that. I mean, liempo, pork barbecue, chicken barbecue. I mean, everything is pork-based, and it is a luxury in Philippine homes, at least when I was growing up, to have pork. And our palate is so adjusted to the taste of pork, we actually prefer it to beef. You know, so I think we can't change that.
I can change it too, Bill. I love pork over chicken, fish, or beef. And over the past year, since the start of the enhanced community quarantine to GCQ, to MGCQ, how has the group adjusted its operations?
Well, we have been very fortunate that our malls have been very lenient with us, and they've first given us a very big rent abatement, and they are very supportive of our request so that we can keep our restaurants open. We have concentrated mostly in two things. One is looking at all costs that included rent, and at the same time, we had tremendous support from our employees. Our management volunteered immediately 50% off from their salaries, and so with our employees. So with the drop or significant drop in both rent and labor, we're able to survive with 50% guest counts.
So you really have been very agile and nimble during these challenging times. But have you also seen a change in the dining habits of Filipinos? Are they now eating on the budget, spending less, or more of the same pre-pandemic?
Well, we have both. We have people who are so locked up at home, especially when they allowed kids to come in the restaurant in November. We had a tremendous spike, you know, and we really had a great number of people coming into the restaurants. In fact, we made some good results in terms of profitability in November. But when they cut that leniency and became stricter, in December, we had the 50% drop in our guest counts.
So
You know?
what
So-
is yeah? So,
it's important.
so Bill, briefly, what is your advice to fellow restaurant entrepreneurs who continue to struggle during this health crisis?
Well, it's both. One is take care of your customers. Make sure that you look at your recipes and your execution and your taste profile, and at the same time look at all aspects of cost. Every single aspect, from your electricity to water to labor, and the malls are very lenient right now. They might not want me to say that, but we've survived because of their help. And go back to them and ask for help.
Thank you so much for this dining exchange, Bill Stelton, the Bistro Group Chairman and CEO. Well, food is a basic human right, and here are some guiding words from the late Henry J. Heinz, who founded the American food processing giant Heinz. Protect the consumer by owning the product all the way from the soil to the table. And this is the exchange. We make sense of the facts and the figures and the ups and downs of the business cycle, because your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Thanks for watching CNN Philippines. News you can use. News you can trust.